Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a very big winter storm for portions of the Northeast, getting all the way down to the coast, where areas even in the interior Northeast could be seeing as much as 6 inches or even more in some of those higher elevation regions. We're going to be going over my personal forecast as well as timing out the storm with my own exclusive graphics that you can't find anywhere else. We're also going to be looking at what the European model and many more models are indicating for this snowstorm, and then we're also going to be timing out the storm with some of those models and what they are showing with the storm. Now, also, I just want to mention, if you have any questions or comments about your specific region, just leave, for example, your county name or what state you live in or what part of that state or even a town name, and I'll definitely get back to you within about 30 minutes to an hour is when I usually get back to you guys. So as soon as I get that notification on my phone, I usually pop on, answer your comments, and then I usually look at some other comments that you guys have written. So if you guys have any questions, I answer all your comments, or I at least look at them, and you can tell if I looked at your comment by when you see that little heart emoji come up on it. So definitely, if you have any questions about the storm, check them, definitely leave them down below in the comments, and I'll be answering and responding to most, if not all, of those comments. Now, here's the current National Weather Service page. We have air quality alerts in effect for parts of Washington, Idaho, and Montana, as well as for portions of California. We also see high wind warnings in effect for parts of Montana and California, with red flag warnings in effect for much of the Southwest. We have hard freeze warnings in effect in that purple for portions of Arizona, as well as some freeze warnings for portions of Texas and Arizona. We see winter weather advisories for the southern plains, as well as a little bit of Montana there, with some winter storm warnings engulfed in that in the pink for portions of Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. We also see some ice storm warnings in effect in that darker purple for portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and also for Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And then we see some tropical storm warnings and hurricane warnings in effect for the central Gulf Coast. That is actually the storm that's going to be moving to the north and east and providing that precipitation to enable some of that snowfall over the portions of the northeast. Now, here's the European model depiction of this precipitation. Something to know is in the greens, you're going to be seeing the rainfall depicted. We're going to see the blues indicating snowfall, and in the pinks, you're indicating mixed precipitation. So ice, freezing rain, sleet, all of that will be indicated by the pink. The red line to the north is the 32-degree line. So anywhere to the north of there is seeing 32-degree or lower temperatures. So that's your freezing line. But of course, you can still see snowfall even if you're above 32 degrees. Now, here would be by Friday, right around 2 a.m. Eastern time, and we're looking at some of that snowfall kicking in for portions of the interior Northeast, especially for those more mountainous regions. Areas that are further closer to sea level are still seeing some mixing and potentially some early icing issues. Then as we get to Friday morning, right around 8 a.m. in the morning, we're looking at some of that snowfall for portions of Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Vermont, upstate New York, and portions of northern Pennsylvania by this point. And then as we get to 2 p.m. Eastern time, we're looking at some heavy snowfall for portions of central and southern New England, as well as parts of upstate New York, northern New Jersey, as well as parts of northeastern Pennsylvania. We're also looking at this storm, and I'll kind of break down what's happening. We see the storm out to the east by this point, and I'll actually do that in red here. So we're dealing with this storm out further to the south and to the east. We're dealing with a big high pressure dome, which is over portions of the southeastern Canada regions, and that dome of high pressure is kind of like this. So within that dome of high pressure, you can't see too much precipitation because, of course, high pressure indicates warmer, drier air. And I'll do the storm track in black here, and we're looking at a storm track that's kind of like this, that goes from Virginia north and east into parts of the northwest Atlantic, and we're going to see warmer air further to the south, of course, but we're seeing that cold air try to intrude. The problem is, with high pressure, you can't see too much precipitation move through, and of course with high pressure comes cold air. So in the wintertime, maybe this would be be an easier situation to pull off. But of course, it's only late October, so we're not going to be able to have as cold of an atmosphere to support that. And the problem is, we need to see that freezing line get a little bit further south for areas just further to the south here to get some snowfall. So I think the main snow precipitation will stay in New England, northern New Jersey, and Pennsylvania northward. That's where I think most of your snowfall will stay, and I think areas north of there will definitely get a good thumping of snow. Here would be by Friday evening around 8 p.m. and we're looking at quite a bit of snowfall now moving through southern New England and also portions of upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And then it starts to move out of here by Saturday morning. A big issue is going to be some of those flooded roadways, because we could see 2 or 3 inches of rain, especially within this region that didn't really switch over to to rainfall that much. It's going to get down into the 20s and even teens as you get further north and west. And that's going to be able to freeze some of those roadways, because of course if you have ponding on the roadways or even just the sidewalks that get a little bit wet, you're going to have a rapid freeze overnight where temperatures could drop nearly 20 degrees overnight, and that will really freeze those roadways and the sidewalks. So definitely make sure that while you go walk your dog tomorrow on Halloween morning, make sure you are being cautious that you're not stepping on any ice, because you could see definitely some frozen ice on the sidewalks or on the streets. So definitely that is another concern with this storm, how much rainfall you're going to see and then how rapidly it switches over to freezing temperatures. Now here would be the European model's estimate of how much snowfall is expected, and you see over portions of the interior northeast, over central New England, you guys are really getting a good amount of 2 to 6 inches, maybe even closer to 10 inches in some areas, especially in those higher elevation regions. Let's look at a couple more models and what they're showing. Here's the GFS model, and we're looking at a general 2 to 6 inches for a similar area, and you can see how similar those two models are. And then as we look at the Canadian model view of what's going to happen, the Canadian model is pushed a little bit further to the north, and I don't know if I agree with this one as much. I think the center of that 6 to 10 inch area will be pushed a little bit further to the south into parts of Massachusetts and even parts of southern upstate New York. And then here's the NAM 12KM model showing how much snowfall they're indicating, and we're seeing a good 6 to 10 inches again in those higher elevation regions with a good 2 plus inches into parts of northeastern Pennsylvania, upstate New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire, and southern parts of Vermont there. So I think this is a fairly good representation of what I think will happen. Now here's my surface map view of what's going to happen, and I'm going to be timing this out with my own exclusive forecast. This would be by 8 a.m. Thursday. Most of that heavy rain back in parts of the Ohio Valley and back into parts of the Mid-Atlantic. As we move to 2 p.m. Thursday, we're looking at a very strong band of heavy rainfall moving through parts of New Jersey and then parallel into central Pennsylvania, and then another area of just steady heavy rain over much of the northeast and mid-Atlantic, and then going down into the mid-Atlantic. Then as we get to 8 p.m. Thursday, this is when I think you could start seeing some of the snowfall switch over in parts of the higher elevation regions of upstate New York and southern Vermont there, and some of those highest elevation regions. Then as we get to 2 a.m. Friday, I'm expecting in the blues, that's where you're looking at snowfall. In the greens, that's where you're looking at rainfall. I'm expecting some of that snow to really start to switch over, and I think it'll stay fairly light to moderate by that point. But then as we get to 8 a.m. on Friday, that's when I think you start to get into the heaviest snowfall for portions of southern New Hampshire, northern and western Massachusetts, northwesternmost Connecticut, east central parts of upstate New York there. That's where I'm looking at some of the heaviest snowfall there. And then we're looking at just some general snow flurries further to the west and south of there over portions of northwestern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, and the rest of New England for the most part. That's where I'm looking at maybe a dusting of snowfall for those regions. And then here's by 2 p.m. Friday. This is when I think you could see probably the best chance for the I-95 corridor to see some snowfall from about Boston to New York City or so. This is when I think you guys could get into maybe some quick, brief snow flurries. I don't think it'll amount to too much, but that's because you're not going to have too much lingering precipitation. The high pressure will have mainly taken over by that point, so a lot of these areas will be below 32 degrees, or at least around 33 or 34 degrees. So that is the end of the surface map segment, and now we're going to start looking at my personal forecast for the storm. Under an inch slash flakes over this region, and I of course could have extended it further south and east, but I don't think it'll be cold enough for these regions further south and east to get snowfall. Under an inch, I would say, would be a good estimate for many of these regions. If you're in this 1 to 3 inch region, I'm expecting over an inch, and again, this is going from the 29th, which would be Thursday, to or the 29th, yeah, that would be Thursday, and going to Saturday, which would be Halloween, of course. And we're looking at 1 to 3 inches over portions of southern New Hampshire, southern Vermont, much of Massachusetts, parts of Rhode Island, much of Connecticut, northwest New Jersey, parts of New York, and then into northeastern Pennsylvania, where you're looking at over an inch in these regions. 3 to 6 inches, though, in portions of northern Pennsylvania as you get into New York, and then as you get into parts of Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and then as you get into Vermont. That's where I think some of those higher elevation regions could pump out maybe over 6 inches of snowfall, and you see that with the 6 to 12 inch layer over portions of western Massachusetts, southwestern New Hampshire, southern Vermont, and parts of the Catskills and upstate New York, where I think you could see as much as 12 inches, but I think it'll be closer to 10 inches in those regions. Maybe some areas could pick up maybe 11 inches in portions of Massachusetts or Vermont in those highest elevation regions. So that's going to wrap it up for the snowfall forecast. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section. I'll be answering all your comments. And again, beware of that hard freeze that you're going to be seeing as you get to Halloween morning, where all that precipitation, all of that 2 inches of rainfall that some of these areas could pick up could freeze overnight, and that is going to be a major situation. So make sure if you want to apply some salt to your driveway or to the sidewalk, just to help freeze some of that ice. And just, it's going to be a very, very dangerous situation with all that rain and snow. It's going to be a very, very challenging morning as you get up for Halloween morning, but hopefully most of it melts by trick-or-treating time on Halloween. So again, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. All those comments I will be answering, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.